What's up, everybody? My name is Raquel Harris, and welcome to the panel discussion for Amazon Studios' film Chemical Hearts. Major shout out to Amazon Studios for putting this all together. This will be on Amazon Prime Video this Friday, August 21st. I am sitting down virtually with cast members Kara Young, who plays Law, and Coral Peña, who plays Cora. Hello, ladies. How are you guys doing?
Hi.
Hi, Rocky. How you doing?
Great.
But first, I do want to get this out the way. You guys are both from Harlem, right?
Yeah. You're
Did you guys know, like, I know Harlem is huge, but did you guys know of each other at all in the acting space?
It happened like right before filming that I think we started to become aware of each other, which is so funny, the timing of that.
I was aware of Coral. Sure. So, so long story short, I saw a play by Aziza Barnes, Blacks, directed by Robert O'Hara at MCC. I feel like it was maybe a month before I had ran into Coral, because we both auditioned for La. And so I was like, oh my God, I just saw you and I love you so much.
It's funny because like the second I met you, I feel like I asked you because it was at the callback. So we were in the waiting room and Kara had just walked out and I was about to go in and I saw you and I don't know how we got to it, but in that interaction, I feel like I was like, are you from New York? And you were like, yeah, I'm from Harlem. I was like, I'm from Harlem. Like we just knew, we felt it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so funny. We actually met for the first time face to face at the callback for Law for Chemical Hearts, which is it's such a funny coincidence.
Yeah, so okay, so then that's interesting. So you guys were both going in for the same character. How did Cora come about then? Was she already a character or
No, so my name is Coral and the character's name is Cora. So what happened was is that I think Richard, and after talking to Kara too, Richard, the director, realized that in order to breathe full life into Law, it would be great to see, oftentimes with queer characters, they say they're queer and then that's it. And you never get into like, but who do they love and why do they love? And so they decided to add in a character. So I got a call one day being like, so they want to offer you this other character, Cora. And I saw the name and I asked my agent, I said, did they write this role for me? He's like, I think they did. So yeah, Kara was and is the perfect Law. If you read the book, you know it, but it's great that I get to kind of help Kara breathe life into Law through various ways. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How does it feel being able to bring those communities to life? Not only people of color, but also the LGBTQ community.
That's a great question. I feel like to play a young Black queer person is revolutionary for cinema for impact, for imaging. Like it's just revolutionary to me. So I feel like it's a spiritual connection to what I do as an artist, to be given the opportunity to do that. It means more to me than like I don't have language around it. I think I'm still finding language around that because what a gift to do that and to really kind of push the fact that these are beautiful, unapologetically queer people. And obviously that there's like a storyline in between that, Cora's character sort of finding her voice within expressing herself. And sorry, I don't mean to speak for you because like if we
no.
But then La also just being the expressive, unapologetically Black, queer, radical, creative thinker, dreamer. She, is like beautifully Black and loud, and I love that. I love everything about her. It's almost like everything I wish I had been given over space to feel that when I was her age. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's something so special about in the film. You see that when they do express love towards each other or even flirtations while they're at school, there's no shame, there's no fear. It's so freeing. And I think oftentimes when there's stories of being gay, in high school, there's like so much shame around it of like, I'm too scared to show my friends that I'm gay. And there's none of that, you know, anything that Cora is the only, between the two of us, the only character that has some type of maturing with that, of clearly, you know, maybe something at home, but she's figuring out her voice. And even within that, when Cora and La are together, they're just free. They kiss at the lunch table, they hold hands down the hall. It's just, and no one, more specifically, no one around them cares. Because that's the truth. No one, like, if you're my friend, go be you, go be free. And so that's what you see, the real healthy friendship dynamics that are actually true. And feeling like this is what friendship is. It's special.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I liked that there were two different storylines for gay characters, but one was still, like you were saying, Kara, one's coming into her identity, but the other one is like, no, I know who I am. I'm just trying to get you on the same page so that we know work. So I thought that it was a very, very, I would honestly love to see possibly maybe a series just centered on those two characters, because I think that's one, we don't see that much of the LGBTQ community represented within communities of color in general. I would love to see that more on screen, not just, we have so many great shows right now that do touch on them, but I would love to see more love stories. So congrats to you guys about that.
Thank you.
Taking a little step back, I want to know who you guys were in high school. This movie centers on the very fragile but formative and eventful teenage years, specifically within high school. Who were you guys in high school? Do you subscribe to any of the cliche high school archetypes?
Wow. You go, Coral. You go.
So, I went to boarding school, which is a whole different ball game of just, I guess, types of people, because it's like, I see what you look like first thing in the morning. There's no trying to present yourself as someone different. But I was in student council. I was head of Multicultural Alliance at my school. I was part of, there was this dance group that was pretty much all Black and brown women called Dynasty. And we performed at pep rallies, and it was like community. It was so freeing and amazing to feel like, because, these higher elite spaces are predominantly white, and to feel like in those spaces, I found my people, that was so important to me. So yeah, that's kind of who I was. I was friends with everyone, but also kind of kept to myself,
Yeah.
Wow, Coral, I just found out about you. I like love. I feel like the relationship between me and Coral, it keeps on expanding. So I'm like listening, I'm finding out more about you, which is really
we're low-key obsessed with each other.
Low-key.
And I hope that honestly comes through in the movie.
For real. No lies. But so I was born and raised here in Harlem, and I went to elementary school in Spanish Harlem.
Okay.
I mean, and high school in Spanish, junior high and high school in Spanish Harlem. And I went to an all-girls public school, the Young Women's Leadership School, which now there's so many around the country. So it was like a model for young girls. And I feel like it allowed me to have space to express myself. And at the same time, I feel like I was still really trying to figure myself out as well. I mean, we wore uniforms, so we would try to personalize our self, like maybe like a little red shirt, little peek out underneath the uniform, or different hair accessories or chokers and stuff like that. And then we would have the casual dress down day. But I feel like I was attached to many things. I remember my parents had me booked throughout the entire week. So I was going through to stuff on the weekends where I was in another kind of group, and I was in musical theater with Standing Ovation Theater Company, where we would so it was like inner city kids who love to perform. I'm finding out more about myself talking about myself.
But no, I mean, but it's when I wrote down the question, I was like, okay, it takes a lot to honestly step back into who you were as a high school, as a high school kid, because there's so many things that you're kind of like dealing with. And then also too, you guys are from New York. I'm from the Midwest. So the high school is, especially
it's different.
Completely. Completely. Which actually brings me to my next question. You guys represent the ethnicity within this group of characters. But was this high school experience that you guys played on screen, was this reflective of what you guys saw in real life in your high school?
I mean, yes, for me personally, because like I said, my school was suburbs, predominantly white. And, suburbs in the US, most of the time it's going to be a handful of non-white kids mixed in with predominantly white. And what I liked about the fact that my character and Kara's character found each other is that that's true to how it would be in high school. You find your people, you find the people that reflect you, you find the people that you can be all parts of yourself with, and you kind of just like, you hold on to them. And so it's funny because at the beginning of the movie, La and Cora, it's like they can't escape each other.
Mm-hmm.
They had something, they separated, and now they're coming right back again. And it's this cycle of that's community. And so it's not surprising that Cora and La would find each other and make a home within each other,
Yeah.
That feels real.
Sisterhood. It makes me think of like, we had this song in high school that was sort of a model for sisterhood, us going into the worlds that we were entering when we graduated. And it was like, you give me all the strength that I need, and I know that you're special, like you're my sister always. But it makes me think of that there's another level of this relationship that really symbolizes finding your own, what you were saying, Coral. And I would say that I feel like La is the person I've always wanted to be. Like, La is going to change the world, She is a radical thinker. She was born to two radical thinkers. She is, her and her best friend, Henry, they've known each other their whole lives. And she's constantly trying to remind him who he is and the essence of who he is, to keep him on his toes. So like, I feel like that's sort of an essence of me too. I love having friendships. I love being of service to my people. And also just like the exploration of queerness and what that meant to me growing up versus what it means to La right now in this world, and what brown queer visibility is in the world, and that we need to see that. And I wish that was a part of my but I feel like intrinsically La is me in this, and I've also I've had the opportunity to play queer characters who are really finding their space in the world and finding their stamp in the world, and also just young Black women who are questioning themselves and stepping into their power.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's all like a part of the ether of like the other characters that I've had the pleasure of stepping into, to sort of crystallize these feelings of who La truly is, with potency and purity and truth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Were there any other storylines? Because I mean, this film talks about so many different things: loss, depression, identity. Were there any other storylines aside from you guys as characters that you guys related to in any way?
I really relate to the relationship, specifically the relationship between Henry and La. Because when I was in high school, I was not, and I guess in some ways, funny enough, Henry, because when I was in high school, I didn't care about relationships. couldn't have been farther from my mind. For various reasons. You know, I'm an immigrant, and I came here, and I'm like, I got to focus on myself. You know, everyone else, will get to you. And so there's something really interesting about when Henry meets Grace, because up until that point, he had no interest in being someone who dates all throughout high school. He was just trying to do what made him happy and figure out himself. And so the relationship between Law and Henry, I relate to, but I guess I didn't expect to have this answer. I guess Henry, I relate to. Yeah, it's great. It's such a beautiful character.
Yeah. I was going to say too, can we talk about how weird Henry was though? Because I'm just saying, okay, I think it's beautiful that he was interested in Lily that much that he wanted to know about her. I thought it was a little sketch that he was stalking her and following and seeing everywhere she was going. And I think that that's beautiful. We live in a world where everything is so accessible, especially information. But do you feel like the stalker vibe is getting more normalized?
I think it's also just like, you know, we're not from the suburbs, but I feel like when you're from suburbs or rural areas, everybody knows everyone and everyone feels like they're allowed to get in everyone's business. So I think there is a certain type of like, because the communities are smaller, there's like, oh, we just know what everyone's doing. And so I think Henry's relation, or how Henry kind of checks in on Grace, is a reflection of that, but also a reflection of, I think, him being someone who's never been taught that, hey, you're like a white guy, you can be threatening, so you might want to like be careful about that and like maybe check that a little. Like I think he's at such a young age still that no one's really told him about these things, that like, hey, you should be aware of your body in spaces, because I find that white men aren't often told to be aware of their body in spaces. So they tend to break rules because they've never been checked before. So it's a reflection of two things, I guess, race and community. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of shows about stalkers lately. I that is true.
But I do have an observation though, because I feel like this is a part of like the Google Me culture. You know, there's like a whole other like you know,
everything's on your phone, and
everything's on your phone, and sort of like even like sexually, how far we've come in regards to just like dating apps like Tinder and you know, where things are sort of right in your face, where when we meet somebody, maybe the impulse is to Google them, you know? And so I wonder, for young people, New York is very noisy, y'all.
But I know what you're saying. It's like blurred the lines of boundaries of, I think younger kids are getting it's really great information if you're in high school of certain boundaries in certain areas, but I think boundaries in other areas aren't discussed. So I think consent is actually something that's talked about way more in younger generations than in older generations. I think what is consent, and that is definitely a conversation, but there's still some, especially because like you said, Kara, social media can blur the line. I think we haven't gotten maybe to that conversation of what is a boundary virtually.
Yeah.
And therefore, how does it bleed into the real world?
Yeah, because I kind of feel like this is culturally, like I can go into if your Facebook is public or if your Instagram is public, I can see your posts from however long ago, depending on what you've chosen to share. And so maybe it's also a conversation that might morph into like your privacy boundary, like how you privatize your life, you know, on these mediums, perhaps.
Yeah, no, I just thought he was kind of creep nation.
I think we know Austin, and Austin's like the sweetest, quietest little baby. So it's interesting to hear that, because I think we're coming into it knowing that Austin is just like He always looks tired. He probably always is tired, but he's definitely just the sweetest, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. I thought it was a lovely story. It was just kind of like,
No, it is. It's an important, I mean, I guess it's important to have films that do cross those boundaries so that we can have the conversations about, okay, this is good, this is bad, this is how we teach younger generations to not repeat their mistakes and to maybe do some of the things that they're doing that are positive. It's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just think that it's dope that he cared enough to know what was hurting her. So I think that's, you know, bringing it back out of the Creep Nation. I think that was super, super dope.
I think it's also really interesting too, because a lot of the times we feel like we can fix people, like we can be
that's the big issue in the movie. Yeah.
Figure out their life, and like we just can't. Like people have to, like we can be of service, like we can be the best friend, like you know, we could be like no, you say how you feel and then come back, you know, and like let's figure this out. But there's also the other part where I feel like Henry's journey is like really trying to help Lily through this grieving process and to like get her on the other side, having been very aware, knowing what's happening with her. And the truth of the matter is like how is they're both moving through love very differently, right? And through her, she's figuring out how not to get over, but to live with these scars of love. And also the timing is just not right for her. And for him, he's like, but we really are. And so it's like, we can help each other as much as we can, but we cannot help each other move through the things that we have to figure out ourselves.
Yeah. It's toxic to teach yourself at a young age that you could fix someone, because that's not your job. And also you can't fix someone.
Yeah.
And it looks like it might've been a first for Henry, you know, like
it was,
the first time that he
had to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's talk about first loves. Was it as painful as what you saw?
Carrie, you ready? Give it to us.
Wait, right, and tell us. You have to tell us all the details. What grade?
I'm just kidding. Sorry, Rocky. What was that?
I was saying the details. Like, what grade was it in? How did you get over? If it was heartbreaking, how did you get over it?
I mean, obviously, I'm hurting for my younger self. Still, but I was dating this guy who I thought was just everything. We had the same birthday. It was like, oh my God, he's so fine. You know, he had like tattoos all over his body. It was like so fly. And come to find out, he was like dating another friend of mine.
Oh, another friend. Like, were you close with them?
At one point, me and this beautiful woman, we were close at one point. And then, you know, I found out that he was seeing her. And, you know, like, it's so weird. Like, I was upset with her.
Yeah, I mean, that's always, I think when you're younger, that's your first impulse of like, how could you ruin our beautiful thing? And then you get older and you realize, oh, the reason why this happened is because we didn't have a beautiful thing. You know?
Right. Yeah. It was very painful though. It was very painful. And I think like on the other side, like this person was also, I mean, in the ways that they were doing it wasn't so conducive to our lives, but like they were also trying to figure out their life too, you know? And when you're young, like if things are just so much more
raw,
you know, so it's easy to feel like this is real love.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What about you? Your first love?
Like I said, I took my time. I didn't really start dating until college. I think it's actually I think it's a pattern sometimes when you're an immigrant of feeling like, especially as a Latin person, you're sometimes so overwhelmed by this idea of statistics. I want to be a statistic. I don't want to be a statistic. So I said, I'm going to focus on my studies. I'm going to focus on my friends, and I'll deal with relationships later. So it took me a while to really open up in that regard. And then by the time I did have my first love, and then it fell apart, I was mature enough we're still friends. I was mature enough to know that I was going to get through it. And I think that's a really mature understanding. So it wasn't as heartbreaking. It was in that first time where you're with someone all the time, and then suddenly you're alone and you're like, what? I have to like listen to my own thoughts again. And that's scary. But it was a really healthy, mature relationship that ended in a very healthy, mature way. And I wish I was more exciting. It was like, it was crazy, but it was really just easy, which is lovely.
That's good. That's good. That's good. No, literally, no, my experience was trash. I'm glad you had a great one. So no, I'm like, what's your sign? What are both of you guys' signs? Zodiac
I'm
sign.
a Gemini.
Okay.
I'm a Sagittarius.
Okay. I'm an Aries. I don't know if that. I now have to like get you guys' like energy.
That's why isn't Gemini and Sagittarius, aren't we opposites? That's good. That means we complement each other. So that's why we get each other.
Yeah. Very free-spirited. Don't like to be.
Yeah.
So Kara, I want to talk to you about your Donald Trump costume.
Oh my God.
Did you know that you were going to wear that beforehand?
I did.
And how did it make you feel? And then also too, with everything that's going on right now, police brutality, protests, we have a very huge, our presidential election coming in November. What are the type of, you guys are both very vocal about social justice, the rights of people of color, the LGBTQ community. What type of mind frame are you guys in right now?
Well, I just want to talk to you about the Donald Trump costume.
Yeah.
Because I was opposed to it. And I did vocalize that opposition. But I also was like, well, if we're going to do it, like, I'm going to put a tutu on him. I'm going to like I don't feel that this is my leader, so I'm going to make a caricature of it. And I'm still finding language with this answer, so I have a feeling that's going to be a thing. But eventually we decided to take the wig off and and it's the scene where La and Cora are really kind of seeing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think if anything, La is commenting on the foolery.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's what I thought. I was like, no, it's pretty scary. It's a very scary reality. And then Coral, how did you, with everything that's going on right now, and obviously you guys share what you are comfortable with, but how does it make you feel? It's a lot of emotions right now, especially for the Black and Brown community. There's so much going on for us. What type of feelings are you having right now?
I'm really just focusing that, this is a long-term battle. And I think sometimes presidential elections are so large and it requires the most amount of active participants. And so I think people think it's the end all be all. And although it can be in so many ways, or it can be impactful in so many ways, I'm someone who always likes to steer the conversation towards, okay, well, what are we doing in the long term? And also local elections. For me, it's local elections. That's where stuff gets done. That's where you get to the nitty gritty of what does your community need. And someone from Harlem, what Harlem needs is different from what Brooklyn needs, is different from what Queens needs, is different from Bronx. And so I'm really a community-based activist and organizer, and that's where all my energy tends to go.
Absolutely. Well, we are out of time, but I want to thank you guys so much. You guys were amazing, amazing people to talk to. Congratulations on Chemical Hearts. Once again, this will be out this Friday, August 21st. So stay tuned for that. It's an amazing film, and I hope you enjoy it.
Thank
Yay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.